France operated a number of M10 GMC tank destroyers between 1943 and 1945. A total of 227 units of this tank destroyer were received by the Free French forces during that time period. The tanks participated in Italy, France, and Western Germany. Particularly remarkable was the M10's role with the 2nd French Armored Division at the Battle of Dompierre, destroying a total of 60 tanks with the coordination of TDs, Shermans, and American close air support. It was regarded at the time as the fastest destruction of panzer units on the Western Front. With the French forces taking few casualties, the M10s were crucial in the preparation of the battle, attacking German positions at Damas and Bertigny. Yet another copy and paste from the American tech tree, but this one I do not mind. The M10 is a very good tank destroyer. Its gun is very nice. It is a little slow, but the armor, especially the mantlet, is very thick, even thicker when you angle. The M4A1 Sherman is the first variant of the early generation medium tank M4 Sherman family. Tanks were substantially provided to Britain, the Soviet Union, China, and Free France through the Lend-Lease program. The M4A1 appears to have been used for the first time by the French battalion dubbed the Fighting French Tank Company by the British. Originally known as the First Compagnie Ottomane des Chars de Combat, it was integrated into the French Army Corps Reconnaissance Group and became known as the Free French Flying Column. It fought in El Alamein as part of the British 8th Army. The tank company was eventually assigned to Force Leclerc and later became the first company of the newly formed 501st Régiment des Chars de Combat, 2nd Division Blindée. Some of the M4A1s under the 2nd Division Blindée was allocated to observation groups and artillery regiments. The French received a few more M4A1s by Lend-Lease in late 1944, as a result of serious shortage of French combat vehicles later in World War II. According to a US Army report, the 2nd Division in Alsace had 9 M4A1s on hand as of January 10, 1945. A few more M4A1s were delivered to the 2nd Battalions throughout the winter and spring of 1945. As more replacement tanks were made available from the 6th Army Group Reserves during the final weeks of the European War, French armored units got their final batch of M4A1s. Yes, another copy and paste. It's a Sherman. What do you expect? The M4A1s is probably the most common Sherman you'll meet in War Thunder. It has a pretty good gun, its armor is okay, you can ricochet a few shots, and the engine is good too. Unfortunately, reverse gear had not been yet invented, so that's a loss. The M4A4 Sherman is the 5th variant of the early generation medium tank M4 Sherman family. Medium tanks were delivered to the French Army under the official French Lend-Lease program in 1943 and 1944. The Free French received over 1,000 different types of Shermans. It is believed that all of these were deployed to Northwest Africa. The French organized 3 armored divisions, each with 165 Sherman tanks. The US required the formation of homogeneous armored divisions. As a result, the 2nd Division Blindée was exclusively armed with M4A2s, the 1st Division Blindée was supposed to be armed solely of M4A1s, whereas the 5th Division Blindée was supposed to be supplied only with M4A4s. However, the 1st and 5th Division initial tank allocation was not uniform, and they both began training duties with M4A4s and M4A2s. Despite several requests from the US for standardization, the French refused to retain personnel on other Sherman variants or swap regiments across armored divisions, believing that such transfers would harm unit cohesiveness and morale. M4A4s were eventually assigned to the 1st Division Blindée and the 5th Division Blindée. The M4A2s were divided between the 5th Division Blindée in equal numbers. This is the last copy and paste, I promise. Well, at least for today. The M4A4 is basically the M4A1, but just with a little bit more stronger armor. And that's it. By the way, where's the M4A2s that France was supposed to have? The RL-44 ACL-1 bears very distinctive characteristics with a World War I style track system which runs across the whole side of its chassis. The tank is a mix of different inspirations, mainly late war German tank technology such as the Panther or the Tiger, from which it takes its sloped frontal armor and tall profile. As France was reviving from World War II, its engineers were hard at work to catch up with tank technology. The RL-44 series was a training ground for them. This is why the tank has rather weird design choices, coming from both experience and experimentation. originally armed with a 75mm cannon, an ACL-1 turret, and a 60mm sloped front plate in 1944. The design was deemed too weak, and many considered that it would quickly be outdated. It was later improved with a 90mm S-45 gun with 37 rounds, and a 120mm front plate and a redesigned sloped turret. In War Thunder, this tank is very good, at least most of the time. Due to this tank having a box-like chassis, you can angle this tank easily, making the armor very strong. It also has a good speed, and the gun is not the best, but it's good enough for the VR. I highly recommend playing this tank. The AMX-13 US is the second sub-variant of the AMX-13-M24 FL10, which was the first variant of the AMX-13 light tank family. In 1956, the French army and the Direction des Études Fabrications d'Allemands were looking into cost-effective ways to modernize their fleets of aged M24 Chaffee light tanks. As a result, they made the AMX-13-M24 by removing the FL10 turret and replacing them with the M24 turrets. The remaining chassis of the M24 was either scrapped down or sent to colonies as either transport vehicles or police vehicles. In War Thunder, this thing looks very bad and cursed, but it's actually a very good tank, believe it or not. It's quite deadly. After the end of World War II, France used its relatively large stockpile of US military vehicles obtained through aid to rebuild its military until domestic vehicles could be produced. The LVT series of amphibious armored vehicles was part of the vehicles sent to France as military aid by the US. France used the vehicle, modified with a 45mm Bofors autocannon, that provided to be more effective against enemies in Indochina than the original 37mm cannons with its superior firepower and fire rate. Do you guys know the Gepard, or the Falcon, at 8.7? This thing is like those two, but at 3.7. I can say this from experience from the receiving end. This was my full review of the 3.3 and 3.7 lineup, including some premiums. Next, I will be reviewing the 4.0 and 4.3 lineup. If you're interested, subscribe and keep a lookout.